The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing game's been missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, make sure you guys do yourself a favor, smash that like button and that subscribe button while you're at it too, so you can let YouTube know that you're rocking with your boy BT. And as you can see on the screen, Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia in the works for a fall pay-per-view. This has been documented for a couple of days, but I haven't had a chance to talk about it. So I'm going to speak my piece, and I'm getting my take on the whole situation in this potential fight that looks like it's going to happen. Now, this is a significant fight in the welterweight division for a number of reasons. Number one, most notably because it would represent the first fight for Errol Spence Jr. since the horrific car crash he had in October of last year, which damn near took away his life. So this fight is supposed to answer some questions to us about his punch resistance, his durability, his stamina, just basic things that every fighter needs to be great for a sustainable period of time. You know, for Danny Garcia, this is going to represent his third big fight in the welterweight division. You know, he had some two fights where he just came up short against Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. He hasn't been able to find himself all the way since he moved up to 147 against the elite fighters, because they've been able to take his punches, and he hasn't really, you know, broken some of the bad habits that he has as a fighter. You see what I'm saying? But let's get into what the article says, and we will dissect from there, and we'll talk about this fight stylistically and just all that good stuff. So it says here, The Athletic's Michael Coppinger reports that Errol Spence Jr., who was in a massive car accident last October and is still not medically cleared to spar, is expected to forego a tune-up in favor of facing mandatory challenger Danny Garcia upon his return. The fight would headline a fall Fox pay-per-view. Garcia recently claimed that he would return in September against either Spence or Manny Pacquiao. So there you go. Danny Garcia himself saying that this fight's going to happen. Now listen, this fight was supposed to happen in January. The car crashes were pretty much ended this fight from not happening, but they were already talking about it behind the scenes, and it was going to get finalized. And the car crash kind of threw a fork in it. So that's why Danny Garcia ultimately wound up fighting Mr. Ivan Redkach. But it's a good fight. It's a good fight. And I've been talking to a lot of my friends in boxing about this fight recently. And, you know, I've heard a lot of things about this fight. You know, a lot of people I've been talking to have been saying, well, BT, Danny Garcia has no chance. BT, Danny Garcia is cement-footed. BT, you know, Errol Spence is going to stop that boy. He's going to beat the shit out of Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is past his best you know, he's past his best as a fighter, which may or may not be true. But what I'll say is this. I think for anybody to overlook Danny Garcia or label him, put that label on him as a tune-up fight, you would be gravely mistaken, and you would be absolutely stupid to do that. And Errol Spence would be stupid to do that himself, and so would his fans, because a couple of things we can say about Danny Garcia is he is extremely durable. I mean, for Christ's sakes, he's had a 38 fight professional career. And in his career, he's never hit the canvas. He does not know what the canvas looks like or smells like, you know? And that's no small accomplishment, because, you know, my favorite fighter is Roman Gonzalez. You know, some people, I'm sure if you're watching this video, your favorite fighter might be Lomachenko or Tyson Fury or Wilder or Joshua or Pacquiao. All them guys have hit the canvas. All the guys have been dropped, and some of those guys have had even less fights than Danny Garcia. And Danny Garcia has never hit the canvas. So one thing we know about him is that he's durable. We know that he can take a punch. We know that he can give a punch. We know that when he hits you with some of these shots, he's able to get your respect. So that to me, that makes this fight interesting, because you also got to look at what's given Danny Garcia problems in the past. The kind of fighters that tend to give him problems are fighters that aren't very fluid in their movements. They're kind of awkward. They're a bit, you know, different as to how they move in the ring. Mauricio Herrera is an example of that. Lamont Peterson is an example of that. You know, fighters who are either awkward or use lots of lateral movement. When he fought Lamont Peterson, as the fight went on and he employed more lateral movement, he gave him more problems. These are the things that give Danny Garcia problems, because Danny Garcia is a fighter that relies a lot on timing. You know, timing is a central part of who Danny Garcia is as a fighter. If Danny Garcia can't time you, you beat him. That's as simple as that. If he can't time you, you beat him. Because he's a counterpuncher. He's got great timing. He's a counterpuncher. So to disrupt that, you need to have great lateral movement. You need to be somewhat awkward. And Errol Spence Jr. isn't a fighter that you could classify as that. He's a fighter that, you know, he's kind of more like that. He's got that Marvin Hagler thing about him, that workman-like type of style where he's going to place his punches really well. He's going to throw lots of punches. He's going to mow you down. Not with just one shot, but with 3, 4, 5 shots. And it's going to accumulate as the rounds go on. And he's going to have to get close to you, close that gap, plant those feet, and throw sharp shots in close quarters. That's when he's at his best. You see, and the strengths of Errol Spence, in my humble opinion, actually play into the strength of Danny Garcia, because Danny Garcia's strengths are counterpunching, exchanging, landing sharp shots. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I think this fight's so interesting to me, because you know, I just think that there's going to be a lot of chance for Danny Garcia to punch in between the punches of Errol Spence Jr., to counter punch Errol Spence Jr. There's just going to be a lot of opportunities where Danny Garcia is going to see openings for those counter punches. And if he can pull the trigger and land those shots, then that's going to call into question the punch resistance of Errol Spence Jr. You see what I'm saying? So I think it's a good fight. I'm still favoring Errol Spence Jr. I'm still favoring him, because I just think I think he'll be able to take the shots. And when he is able to take those shots, I think Danny Garcia is just going to do what he has always done, which is land a good counter shot, a good counter punch, and he's going to sit there and admire his work like he's a freaking artist, like he's at the art walk or art basel on South Beach, you know, just like looking at one of these bougie $50,000 paintings where they get splatter paint all over the canvas. You know, he's sitting there, he might land a hook, but he don't follow it up with nothing. He don't throw a hook off the hook, he don't throw a jab, he don't sidestep, he doesn't do nothing when he lands a counter punch. And that's been my biggest gripe with him. That's why I can't go back and watch a lot of his fights, because Danny Garcia, he's frustrating to watch, because he could be a better fighter. He could really be a better fighter. But he just has these habits and these traits ingrained on him, and they're not going to break in one training camp or in one fight. But it is going to be an interesting fight, and you can't underestimate Danny Garcia. So if I had to take a pick, I would say my pick is an Errol Spence Jr. Unanimous decision. I think he'll win like an 8-4 type of unanimous decision. But he might get dropped. I wouldn't be surprised if he got dropped. I think Danny Garcia has the kind of punching power to drop Errol Spence Jr. So we'll see, man. Let's see. I think that's going to be one of his toughest fights. A lot of people are saying it's going to be one of his hardest fights. I say the contrary. I say it'll be one of his toughest fights, because he's not the kind of fighter that gives Danny Garcia problems. He's not like a guy that employs a lot of lateral movement. He's not a guy that, you know, is an awkward fighter. You know, Errol Spence is very fluid in his movements when his punches. So because of that, I think he'll be a fighter that Danny Garcia can time, and he's going to have some success. And make no mistakes about it, Danny Garcia is not Mikey Garcia. He's not going to go in there and show up just for the check, or just to be happy going 12 rounds, or just happy as a sparring partner. He's not. He's really not. He's going to be somebody that's going to go in there to win. And that's cliche to say, but you got to say it, because there's a lot of fighters in boxing, like Ivan Redkach, Danny Garcia's last fight, or like Mikey Garcia and Errol Spence's fight last March, that were just happy to be there. And Danny Garcia isn't a guy that's going to be happy to be there. This is a guy that I think, you know, he's taking some tough losses. Some fights he thought he won, and he's going to have a point to prove. And Danny Garcia with a point to prove as the underdog, as we've seen in the past, when he's a massive underdog against the likes of Lucas Batista and Amir Khan. That's when he performs better, and that's why I think it's stupid to underestimate him. But people are going to do it, and they're going to be in for a rude awakening. It's going to be a more competitive fight than people think. So that being said, that's my thoughts on the fight. You let me know. You guys let me know yours in the comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.